Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome dear learners. This is a video for the subject of education for the course of Bachelor's in Education and for the paper of Conceptual Foundations of Education. Here we are going to have a discussion on sociology of childhood development, and in this lecture we will be discussing the agencies of education. This video has been recorded by Dr. Iram Khan. The course coordinator and the presenter of this video is Dr. Iram Khan from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. The academic expert or the reviewer of this video is Professor Jasim Ahmed from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. This video is produced under the project DTH Swayam Prabha channels of MHRD, or presently called as Ministry of Education, Government of India. Hello dear students, I am Dr. Iram Khan, Assistant Professor at Institute of Advanced Studies in Education, Faculty of Education, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. Today we are going to have a discussion on the sociology of childhood development, and in this lecture we will be discussing in detail about the agencies of education. So let us start our discussion first with the objectives. The objectives of this session are to elaborate the various agencies of education, to delineate the classifications of agencies of education, to discuss the merits and demerits of various agencies of education, and to differentiate between formal and informal agencies of education. It is generally believed that children are educated in schools and colleges. But is it true? Basically, the truth is that a child receives his or her education from various sources besides schools and colleges. So only schools and colleges are not the source of educating a child. So in the words of famous American educationist John Dewey, he actually defines education as a process of life or development. And this development depends upon two factors. First factor is heredity, and the second one is environment. Heredity is fixed and definite, but environment can be manipulated to be good or bad. So as such, development of life depends upon the good or bad environment. If we say this, it will be correct to a certain extent. So we can say that education clearly means the providing of proper environment for the development of the child. Now, the family, the school, the community, the religion, the state or the government, and then rest of all those community aspects like having the libraries or the exhibitions, the newspapers, magazines, or the mass media sources like radio or television or cinema. All these are the means which provide diverse opportunities for the child to learn something or the other and bring about a modification in this child's behavior. All these means are the sources of education. And if we talk about all these things in a very proper terminology, we can say that these means or sources of education can also be called as agencies of education. So all these agencies of education have a, a very important role, a great impact upon the the growth and development of this child, because they influence the education and even the development of the child in their own way. They actually make a kind of direction to the life of the child. These things or these agencies can impact the life of the child directly or indirectly, openly or silently, and consciously or maybe unconsciously. So you can see that how much importance these agencies have in terms of the growth and development of this child. So this is why we can say that all these agencies of education are concerned with the preservation, the transmission and development of cultural heritage from one generation to another generation. So that's why it is very much important to discuss about the agencies of education. So this entire lecture is going to discuss about the details of what exactly these agencies are, what are their roles, and what exactly are the merits and demerits, and also the differentiation between the different agencies. So before going ahead, we must be knowing this, that what exactly are those agencies of education. We have seen in the previous discussion that what are the agencies of education. But if we go ahead and try to classify all the agencies of education on the basis of certain parameters, which can be their nature, their formal or informal nature. So that can be governing us towards the first classification of agencies of education. So what exactly this first classification makes out, it basically classifies the agencies of education into two different categories. The first category is formal agencies and the other one is informal agencies. And in this lecture, we will be discussing a lot about the role and the importance, also the merits and demerits of these two types, as well some of the other classifications. So let us just have a look at what exactly are those specific organizations or things which are coming under the segment or under the bracket of formal agencies. So under the formal agencies, we have got school, uh, or any sort of organized entertainment centers, like if we have got a playground which is organized, and or maybe a sports complex, that can become under this category. The libraries, different art galleries or cinema halls, educational programs on the radio or television, or right now we have got a lot of different platforms over the internet, repositories and digital libraries. So all these come under the formal agencies of education. Then comes the next category, which is informal agencies. What exactly is bracketed inside this informal agencies? So the family, the community, religion, the marketplace, then maybe the all those exhibitions or fairs, the melas, so or children playing in a like street or a free play kind of thing. So all these things and many more. So these things are bracketed under this informal agencies. So we can see that the two general categories can be the formal and the informal agencies of education. And as the names indicate, the formal agencies impart formal education, while the informal agencies prepare the child for general as well as various types of education. So these are basically those agencies which actually indirectly work, and like in case of family, the family is the first teacher, because child actually gets himself or herself prepared for the formal setup in the close vicinity of the family. So this is the first classification of the agencies of education. Now let us just have a look at what exactly can be the other classifications on the basis of different parameters in terms of classifying the agencies of education. The next classification of agencies of education can be done on the parameter of active agencies and passive agencies. let us see what exactly this active agencies and passive agencies are all about. So in terms of active agencies, we can talk about the family, the school, the religion, the government or the state, the community, all those social clubs. Then the organized games, or we talked about the complex sports complex or organized game centers. Then the entertainment programs. So all these come under the active agencies. Now let us see the next set, which is the passive agency. Under this bracket, we can put in uh, all those mass media resources like the cinema, or radio, television, then magazines, a lot of articles and all those things which are published inside the magazines, then the newspapers, and also the marketplace. So all these things come under the passive agencies of education. Basically, they are passively providing a lot of education to the child. And in case of active agencies, we can see that these agencies provide active education. The active agencies of education act and react upon the growing child, and they play a very active role. So here the child is active and can influence the working of the agencies also, while the passive agencies act in one way only. So either we can read or the newspaper, or we can view the cinema, or view the television, or listen to the radio. So there is something which is very much passive. So that's why they are considered as the passive agencies. So the child is not in a position to influence them at all, uh, and this child becomes a passive recipient of the information or the content which is provided by the passive agencies of education. So we can say that the interaction between the child and agency is possible only in active agencies of education, whereas the passive agencies of education uh, don't have any opportunity of interaction, and they actually can be actually experienced by one or two sense organs. So nothing can be interacted between um, the passive agency and the child. So this is something which is a next set of classification of the agencies of education. The third classification of agencies of education was given by Brown. And Brown made the classification where he classified the agencies of education into four different categories. The first one is formal, then we have got informal, then commercial, and then the next or the last one is non-commercial. So let us just see that what exactly um, is the meaning, like what exactly we mean by all these four categories. So the first one, which is the formal agencies, according to Brown, the formal agencies describe or they can be described by the pre-planned or by the ready-made tidbits of knowledge to the child in such a way that the child becomes conscious of the past history, wisdom of ages, and the cultural issues of the race. So all these things are basically taught to the child by the formal agencies. So in this way, basically what we are doing the character formation of this child. And what can be the examples of the here related to the formal agency? It can be the school, the religious institutions, the museum, the library, or zoo, or maybe the art gallery, the sport complex or the organized game centers, then the educational programs, all those programs which are very much educational in nature. So these are basically considered as the formal agencies of education in the classification of Brown. Then the next category, according to Brown, here is the informal agency. What exactly it means? These agencies which are considered as the informal agencies, inculcate in children the desired human qualities and moral values. So these agencies basically provide the learning of various theories, then the principles, uh, or different sort of rules and regulations of conduct and behavior to the child. So that's why these agencies bring about the socialization of the child, and make this child with a sense like prepare this child with the inculcation of the sense of duty and responsibility. Now, what can be the examples of this informal agencies? The examples can be the first one, which can be coming to my mind, can be the family. Then the free play or the general uh, playing activities by the children. Then the games or all those sort of things. Then the government or the state. Also, the communities or the society can be kept under this category of the informal uh, agency of education. So, because what these agencies are doing, they are providing uh, the values, or you can say the knowledge of all those theories and principles and rules and regulations set of how to live or lead the life in a proper way. So these agencies are providing that knowledge to the child. So that's why they are kept by Brown um, in the category of informal agency of education. Then, according to Brown, the third category is the commercial agency. What exactly it means? So, according to Brown, these commercial agencies give various kinds of knowledge, discoveries, inventions, and achievements of human race. Through these agencies, children acquire knowledge about the culture, the beliefs, and activities of different sections of human society. For example, the newspaper and magazine basically prepare the children to be sympathetic with regard to social happenings and the activities going on not only in their own country but also throughout the whole world by communicating them most up to date information. So in this way, these agencies, which basically develop the social attitude uh, in the child, receive for receiving all kind of social education and experiences. So all these agencies can be considered as the commercial agencies. And what can be the examples? The examples can be the radio, the television, cinema, all these mass media sources. Then the clubs, theaters, or the newspaper. So these are some of those examples of the commercial agencies which were uh, categorized by Brown. Then the next and the last category is the agency of non-commercial nature. So non-commercial agencies, what exactly Brown means by non-commercial agencies? Brown is having the opinion that non-commercial agencies come into being for the societal good. Basically, they are created for the goodwill of the society. So they are not linked with any commercial motive. So let's see a few of those examples for these non-commercial agencies, like this, the sports activities which is happening somewhere inside. Suppose there is a club which is generated and or which is created by a few of the community members, where nothing is commercially involved. So that kind of sports club can be considered as the non-commercial agency of education. Then the social welfare centers, the drama clubs, then the youth welfare clubs, the adult education centers, or the scout and guide centers. So all these are created for the goodwill of the society, and they don't involve any type of commercial motive. So these are considered as the non-commercial agencies of education. So we can say that non-commercial agencies of education create the sense of dynamic citizenship and social service among the children or the students or anybody, any citizen. So all these three classifications which we just have seen uh, basically very much clearly signify that what exactly are the agencies of education, what are the uh, nature of these agencies, and what are those important factors which are considered while making the classification of these agencies of education. So, after seeing the classification of the agencies of education, we have seen the first classification where we divided the agencies of education into formal and informal agencies of education. And we are just going to take this classification as the foremost here in this lecture, because this is something which is very much important and is considered universally everywhere. So, let us just see a little bit more detailed overview or perspective of the formal and informal agencies of education. So the first one, the formal agency. What exactly it means, we have already seen a little bit information, but let us just have a look. The Under this category of the formal agency, we list those institutions which impart definite and ready-made informations or the set of knowledge in a very specified time under a controlled and structured environment. Here, the teachers are definite and the objectives to be achieved are very much specific, or you can say that pre-planned. So, such institutions are established by society with the purpose of directly providing the accumulated knowledge in specific doses under a pre-planned program. So, what I just mentioned, that things are pre-planned once we are talking about the formal agencies of education. And it should be very much clear that education imparted by formal agencies is limited and specific. So suppose you are studying in a school or in a college, so uh, and you are studying in a specific standard, so the curriculum, the syllabi which is prescribed for that particular standard will only be imparted in that standard and nothing else. So this is something which actually makes the formal agency imparting education, which is very much time bound, very much clear, and also pre-planned and also very much specific. So such type of education has its own merits and its own demerits also. So because the experiences and structured and uh, sense of imparting education or the learning achievements can be measured and evaluated. So this the merit which is there, we can see that it is a little bit more, but we will discuss that what exactly are the specific merits and also the specific demerits. So, in this way, we can say that this set of agents, like all those formal agencies, have got stages of progress and are also pre-decided and well marked. And they are having a set of evaluation which lead the child from one level to another level. And we have also seen a lot of examples of the formal agencies. Once we are talking about the merits of formal agencies, we have to say that there are a lot of merits. Like everything is defined, or you can say that things are very much definite and specific about their objectives, about the learning experiences, the learning outcomes, the desired behavioral changes, together with measuring and evaluating techniques. So that is also pre-decided that what kind of evaluation measures are going to be taken up while making the evaluation of the child. The time limit prescribed leads to effective planning, organization, which is leading towards a very controlled environment. So this is something which can be appreciated by many. And in the words of John Dewey, he has once remarked that without formal education, it is not possible to transmit all the resources and achievements of a complex society. It also opens a way to a kind of experience which would not be accessible to the young if they are left to pick up their training in informal association with others. Quotes close. So here you can see that in very strong words, John Dewey is giving a kind of backing to the formal education setup. Now, after the merits, let us see the demerits of formal agencies of education. Education imparted by the formal agencies is often seen to be very much bookish or theoretical and artificial by many of the people. Uh, and it is also seen that it is devoid of realities of life and society. It is very much planned under rigid conditions and strict disciplines, which makes the whole environment at times very passive or very dead and lifeless. So it emphasizes interpretations of words and phrases and often neglects the real spirit underlying the content. So in this way, we can say that it promotes many a times the rote memorization, the mechanical rendering, and does not inculcate thoughts or the critical thinking or maybe the understanding and insights into the minds of educants or those people who are the takers of the education. So this is something which can be seen as the criticism or the demerit of formal agencies of education. So after the formal agencies, let us just have a look on the detailed overview on the informal agencies. What exactly the informal agencies are? We have seen a little bit of uh, information related to the informal agencies of education. But let us just have a bit of more elaborate view. So these agencies of education are those institutions which actually make a kind of influence on the child indirectly. So therefore, they are often termed as indirect agencies also. So the basic objectives of these agencies are wider and more comprehensive than we have seen in the case of the formal agencies. Uh, they don't only work on the educational objectives, but they are also seen to be working on uh, the life or the you can say the lifelong experiences or the things which are very much related to the leading the life of a child. So in these agencies, in these indirect or the informal agencies, nothing is pre-planned and rigid. Experiences gained through these agencies are neither controlled nor rigidly structured. Everything is free and natural. The teachers and the strategies or the different sort of techniques which are adapted or the tacts which are being used for imparting knowledge or being used by the people who are involved in the informal agency are very much uh, you can say very much natural or not fixed at all in advance. So basically, they are not fixed or they are not pre-planned. So education through these agencies is imbibed incidentally and naturally by the students' own initiative and efforts. So there are not set places or locations for imparting education. Like we have seen a lot of examples earlier also. Let us just recall those in this informal agencies category. We have seen that the first name is of the family, which is actually the first teacher. Then we have got the religious ceremonies, then the social gatherings, the mass media resources, the newspaper, the TV, the radio, the community, then most of those things which are basically providing some sort of knowledge or impact on the child. So these are all considered under the informal agencies of education. So what is the merits of the informal agencies? Education which is imparted through the informal agencies is very much incidental. It's not pre-planned at all. So it's very incidental and very much natural. So basically it is imparted in a free atmosphere within uh, within a very kind of flexible routine, so without having any rigid control and any certain direction. So it leads to initiative, self planning, self picking and self choosing. So whatever you like to, whatever you feel like doing, you can do in this informal setups. So basically it stimulates the curiosity and interest in children and avoids any type of external force or the very strenuous discipline, because these are not having any kind of pre-planned or strict atmosphere. So that's why they are very much flexible in nature. So in this way we can say that the formation of character is quite smooth and natural in the informal agencies, or in the vicinity or in the close coherence of the informal agencies of education. After the merits, let us just have a look on some of those demerits of the informal agencies. These are often seen to be imparting some sort of vague knowledge. Why? Because it is not anything which is planned or very strict or very disciplined. So at times we can see that in certain families or certain environments, the knowledge which is provided is not very much desired, or it can be seen as not desired as by another set of people. So the accumulated knowledge of the race cannot be imparted through the informal agencies alone. This is something which is taken up, or which is seen to be there. Duration and time limits are greatly essential in the preparation of citizens who are going to lead their own lives successfully and guide the destiny of their nation. This is something which is very much desired. But in this case, because there is no any planning, there is no any certain time bound nature, or nothing is strict, so a lot of time and energy is at time wasted in inculcating all those random experiences. So at the same time, skills and techniques also cannot be developed through informal education. The skills which are of very much specific nature at times are not seen to be properly developed in the informal setup of education. And sometimes children may go a little bit like derailed or astray and develop harmful attitudes and habits through which they can bring harm to them, uh, to themselves and even to the other people, or even to the society. So this is something which makes the informal agencies also having some demerits. So the truth is that none of the discussed agencies, whatever agencies we have discussed, the formal, the informal, the active, the passive, or the commercial, non-commercial, all these agencies, one by one, if we talk about, they are not complete in their own. So each give a certain type of education, which is only a part of the whole. So in reality, both the agencies, both the formal and the informal agencies, specifically we are talking about the formal and informal here. So we can say that in reality, these two, uh, these two formal and the informal agencies of education are mutually complementary and supplementary for the complete and wholesome development of the personality of any individual. So in this way, we can say that both the agencies should cooperate in educating the child, and there must be a balance of working and the ways in which these two participate in the growth and development of the child for the total development of this individual. No one is to be neglected, as both complete the desired development. So we can't say that the formal is good and the informal is not that important, or vice versa. Basically, there should be a proper balance which should be there for making this child a very grown and developed citizen who is useful for himself or herself, and as well on the same time as well for the nation. So there should be a proper balance which should be maintained between the formal and informal agencies of education. So this is something which we have to take care of when we are working as an educationist in any institution, or as a family member being the part of the system. So with these words, we have now reached to the end of this session, and let us just have a quick recap of what we have studied. We have seen the meaning of the agencies of education, where we have seen that the agencies of education are those institutions and the processes of education which impart education directly or indirectly. And these institutions develop the child consciously or unconsciously. We have seen three specific classifications of the agencies of education, where the first classification demarcated the agencies of education into formal and informal. The second classification made the distinction between the active and passive type of agencies of education. And the third classification, which was given by Brown, has made the classification in the category of formal, informal, commercial, and non-commercial. We have also seen that this formal and informal agencies of education are something which are to be discussed in a very proper manner, because these are those which are uh, which are something which lead the child to become a proper citizen of the country. We have seen that the formal agencies have got some predetermined aims which are achieved through a pre-planned method and the program. And then in case of the informal agencies, they basically influence the children indirectly. And then we just had a small discussion that how it is very much important to maintain a balance between the formal and informal agencies of education, because both are necessary for the complete and the overall development of the child. So in this way, we have seen that what exactly are those agencies of education which are instrumental in the development of a child. And in the next lecture, or the set of lectures which are going to come, uh, which are going to follow this lecture, we will be discussing in detail about those agencies of education which are very much important to be learned in a very elaborate manner. These are few of those references and the links which were referred while developing this lecture. You can also go ahead and see these books and the links, and you can read more to learn more about the different agencies of education in a broader way. Thank you so much. Dear students, you are watching a video on the sociology of childhood development, and in this lecture we discussed about the agencies of education. This video lecture was recorded by faculty at home during the national lockdown period for COVID-19 pandemic using minimal technical resources. Technical errors, if any, are unintentional and may please be ignored. For any queries with regard to this lecture or broadcast, kindly send your email to techsupport@dth.ac.in. Thank you so much.